We've all had that one line from a series at some point that really stuck with us. One of my favorite things about stories, and honestly the reason I often watch them in the first place, is for that bit of perspective and inspiration they can give us. Sometimes there's a character or scene which genuinely does change the way you see things through their story, and it really has a lasting impact on you. And sometimes all of that is summed up extremely well in a single line, which just seems to stick in our heads. As I'm sure you'd imagine, running a channel like this, I have a lot, but the one that's always stood out to me, that's always played in my head during my absolute lowest moments, is one from a very unexpected character, one that I thought nothing of at first. A character who embodies that feeling of average, which obviously by definition, most of us can relate to. Ryūnosuke Tanaka, Haikyuu's ever-positive, hot-headed second year at Karasuno. Up until about halfway through season 4, whilst a very funny and likeable character, he doesn't really have any major moments. He's a solid player, but he's not really a standout in any aspect except his people skills and mental toughness, both of which are incredibly useful both on and off the court. Regardless, besides his occasional funny moment and show of guts, there's not too much more to say about him in the first few seasons. We never really get a look inside his head, besides knowing he likes Kyoko, but when we finally do, he gives us the single most motivating line I've ever heard. Karasuno's second match at Nationals sees them going up against last year's runners-up. So it was never going to be an easy match by any means, but I don't think any of us expected just how intense it was going to be. Kinoshita points out that whilst the opponents across the net are the same age as them, they are not normal high schoolers. They have players which have been featured in magazines and TV interviews. They have their own cheer squad with instruments and everything that are trained to boo when their opponents are up to serve. It's a world completely alien to most, one that's out of the reach of average people. And Karasuno come in as real underdogs to this match, but it soon becomes clear to the spectators that this is going to be a close game. You know, they recognize that just about everyone on this team is actually pretty damn good. And they're all really rising to the occasion as well, except maybe that one player. Tanaka is having a tough time this game. He just seems to be getting blocked again and again, as the spectators joke that he's just the energetic one, and that's all he's good for. We notice something is very different about Tanaka in this match. Usually he can just laugh and shrug off everything, confident he'll get the next one, but it's different this time. His spike is blocked and he just about manages to get out of the way in time for it to go out of bounds, but we see that doubt really creeping in as he celebrates. Sure, he got that point, but these repeated blocks have clearly left him doubting that he can even get past them. And as we near the end of the first set, the score is 24-23 to Karasuno, 1 point away from a huge upset. The ball comes to Tanaka and he's blocked once again. And once again, we see the frustration and fear building. To make matters even worse, with the two teams reaching a deuce, Atsumo's figured out exactly who to aim for next. The team's current weak point, Tanaka. But whilst he braces and hypes himself up, Nishinoya steps in to receive it anyway. And it's now that it really hits him. 48 points into the game, and he hasn't really done anything. Regardless, Karasuno win the next point and are in position to take the first set a second time. In spite of all his mistakes, Asahi sets the ball to Tanaka again and his line shot is out. Karasuno's second chance to win has once again slipped through Tanaka's fingers, and his piling mistakes are definitely starting to grate on him. Despite that, he continues to pump himself up, much to the shock of Inarizaki, because usually players struggling as much as Tanaka is right now become very quiet. But not Tanaka. He calls for the ball again, but Tsukishima ignores him. And as we know, Tsukishima doesn't do anything he hasn't calculated, so this was as cold of a truth as is possible. He didn't think Tanaka would score, and he's very rarely wrong. It seems to finally get to him. But if we calm down and look at what's happened so far, sure, the results might not be there yet, but that doesn't mean he's not doing well. He might have missed that spike just now, but it was only by an inch or two. Considering the pressure of the moment and triple block in front of him, he did pretty well just to spot the gap. Atsumu even thinks to himself that he's surprised Tanaka managed to get that shot through at all, as he was convinced he had him blocked. And it's not as though all those previous blocks were entirely his fault anyway. The one just prior to that, Kageyama actually apologized due to it being a bit short and also presumably a little bit predictable, as Inarizaki did have a 3-man block ready. He shouldn't be beating himself up as much as he is. It's not as though anyone can get through a triple block every time. And as Hinata points out, his blocking has been brilliant today. He's been a constant pain for Inarizaki. It's not as though blocking is one of his strong suits yet. He's doing well against the second strongest team in Japan. Tanaka is doing way better than he realized. And it's a really great point that his mood instantly picks up here after Hinata cheers him up. On his own, he would have never even thought about that. It's easy to be blind to your own progress and just focus on the negatives, but that doesn't mean it's always true. Sometimes it's a lot more noticeable to other people than ourselves. However, whilst it's obviously great to have someone who point that out for you to encourage you again, not everyone has that. So what are you supposed to do if you don't? Well, Tanaka actually has a great answer for that. A single line that will stick with me forever. The next point begins with Karasuno at a set point. Tsukishima's serve is received by Aaron and set to Osamu. Hinata attempts to block him, but Osamu doesn't feel threatened at all until Tanaka shows up. He is not beaten yet. The ball comes to Daichi, who easily sets it up for Kageyama. And he's got Hinata and Asahi ready and waiting. Their top 2 point scorers who are both doing brilliantly so far. But when the ball falls to Kageyama with the first set once again on the line, for the 3rd time, the person his eyes dart towards is Tanaka. And for pretty much the first time in the whole series, we get a real deep look inside his head. I've always known I'm average, although sometimes I do still think of myself as a prodigy. But right now, I'm not number 1 in anything on this team. That's no excuse, nor is it a reason to give up, and most of the time I don't even think about this stuff. But occasionally, once or twice a year, I get seriously down on myself, and I can't help but think I'm nothing but average. And the thing is, as you start to get older, you start to realize just how big the world is and how average you really are. And I feel exactly like Tanaka with regards to that. Most of the time, I don't even think about it, but there's those occasional moments where you realize that whatever it is you're going to try, there's countless thousands of people who've already been practicing it for years, many of which would have probably had a better starting point anyway. It's daunting to say the least. I mean, you've got a long road ahead of you. And as Tanaka says, that's not a reason to give up. Not at all. You know, I've mentioned in other videos that we shouldn't feel as though we have to be number 1 in the world for something to be worthwhile. But man, when everything is going wrong, it really can feel as though you're looking up at an endless mountain and those painful feelings of mediocrity here. Never mind being number 1 or anywhere close to that. It's more as though we're not moving at all, that the mountain will never end. But ever since I saw this scene, every time I felt that way, that nothing's going how I want it to, that I'm being hard on myself and it all feels hopeless, that same magical line plays in my head. Hey, Mr. Average, do you really have time to be looking down right now? And the obvious answer is no. That's not a luxury we can afford or honestly need. That mountain might be tall, but it's not going to get any easier if you hang your head. And why would you need it to be easier anyway? Sure, there's a lot of those stairs in front of you, but it's not like there's anything stopping you from taking that next step up. And those people that you're looking at, they had to take those stairs too. If you speak to them, you'll probably find some inspiration for some shortcuts, the way Tanaka did with Bokuto's cross shots. But above all, there's a reason you're climbing those stairs. There's a reason you're standing on that court, and it's because you want to. So no matter how rough things are or how painful it may be right now, the only thing to do is lift your head up, to keep calling for the ball. Kageyama can only grin at this madman's tenacity. He sets the ball to Tanaka, and in spite of everything, he has just one thought: you can do it. His cut shot slices perfectly in between Inarizaki's receivers, and Karasuno win the first set. Tanaka's persistence, in spite of it all, paid off. And the thing is, the title of this video said one line. Well, I mean, I might have changed it since then because I sometimes change the title for click-through rates low, okay? But at the time of the recording, it said one line, right? And that's true. But if you've seen the show, you know there's a second scene, which doesn't quite have, a line you'll use forever. But it really completes Tanaka's journey. And I think if the first one resonated with you, this will really give you a sense of completion. So whilst Karasuno managed to take set 1, the second went very differently. Inarizaki smashed Karasuno with a huge point lead, tying the score up at 1-1. And during the set, we didn't see much of Tanaka at all. Even throughout the third set, Tanaka's very quiet. The set plays out with both teams being very closely matched, and it looks for a moment as though Karasuno might actually pull off the impossible. But then right at the end, in the blink of an eye, Atsumu gets a setter dump, Ginjama gets a spike, Inarizaki is at match point. Daichi tries to keep his team calm, but everyone is clearly feeling the pressure, and Tanaka looks deathly serious. Sure, he scored that awesome point earlier, but he's not done anything since then. He's just a normal guy, but on this court is the strongest high school setter in Japan, his equally dangerous twin, another national level setter, a national level ace, a libero that can receive those serves he couldn't, a wall he can't surpass, a teammate who can smash past that wall, another who can jump around it, and that's not even the full list. But we're suddenly taken to a flashback halfway through this set. On this court full of monsters, the average Tanaka can't help but think about all those times he's been blocked in this game. But he realizes something insane. He's on a roll. It might not look that way to anyone else, but he knows. He knows he's doing fantastically right now. As we mentioned earlier, and he's evidently realized, you can be doing everything right, and there's still this delay in the results showing up. But he also has this strange feeling that he shouldn't push his luck, and so he asks Kageyama to cut down on the sets he sends to him for a while. Turns out, Kageyama also realizes how well he's been doing, maybe even more so than Tanaka does, and responds, "No chance, we need your attacks, Tanaka." And he realizes that that was not Kageyama trying to make him feel better. He trusts Tanaka to do it. Not trust as in, I trust you with my prized possessions, but trust as in, I know you're capable of doing this. Don't stop now. Going back to the set, where the score is 24-22, and one mistake will lose Karasuno the game. Aaron serves the ball, which is received by Asahi and set by Kageyama to Tanaka. And once again, he's blocked. The ball falls to the ground, and it looks as though Karasuno is going to lose. Nishinoya just about saves them, and after a couple back and forths, Kageyama has to decide who to set to. And he realizes just how well Tanaka's been doing. Despite all the times he's been blocked, he's staying calm, he's playing well, and in particular, Tanaka's cut shot is incredibly lethal. One of Inarizaki's blockers called him a weaker Bokuto, which was meant to be an insult, but if you told Tanaka he was seen as a weaker version of a top 5 national ace, he'd probably take it as a compliment. Anyway, replaying Ukai's earlier voice in his head, Kageyama realizes that Tanaka's greatest weapon is not for the setter to decide. And so he sets a beautiful set right to the very end of the court. And I have to admit, this didn't really click for me the first, dozen times I watched Haikyuu. But he sets the ball in such a position that Tanaka has the choice to use his normal cut shot, which he's had some success with. Or, if he has the guts to use the attack that hasn't worked once today, his line shot. Kageyama isn't telling him to use it, because that would be beyond sadistic, right? To effectively force someone into using an attack they've missed repeatedly today whilst they're against match point. So he doesn't do that, but he gives Tanaka the option to. And as Tanaka jumps, he realizes something. He already knew Kageyama wasn't just trying to encourage him, But there's even more to it than that. What Kageyama said was a threat. The king of the court has put his faith in you. He knows you can do it. So don't you dare prove him wrong by hanging your head now. Keep calling for the ball so we can win. Inarizaki are very aware of his cross shot and have been shifting to block it. And as a result, all those times his cross shot has been blocked, all those failures, they've pried open a path for his line shot. And I don't know how he even managed to jump that high with his evidently titanium nuts. I mean, he almost lost the game with that same attack about 5 seconds prior, and he still went for it. But jokes aside, whilst not the most complicated or deep character in the world, Tanaka's whole journey to have a lot more courage in his supposedly average self always really inspires me. And I say supposedly average because his ability to pick himself up and keep going is definitely way above average. There's a scene where Tsukishima points out to him that it's not as easy as Tanaka makes it sound. But regardless, we all fall off a hit a wall from time to time, but there really is only one thing to do. Pick our head up and take another step. The self-loathing, the envy towards others, the frustration of a failure, none of those go away by beating yourself up. Just imagine if Tanaka did that. He would have walked off the court furious with himself for not continuing to play. A degree of accountability is good, but once you've realized things aren't going your way, or you feel like you're looking up at a mountain, the only thing to do is stand up once more and go again. Thanks for watching as always. If you enjoyed this, then all the algorithm stuff always helps. Either way, I'll put the Haikyuu playlist on screen, so be sure to check that out, and I'll see you again soon.